Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle once again. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on incredible radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 in the Midlands, heard around the world on the iHeart Radio application. Download today. It is free. The website, put the .com on it. Doggone it. That's ClemsonSportsTalk.com. 803-450-0086. Coming up in hour number 2. Legendary Clemson SID Tim Beret will join us to talk about a busy day in the world of college football, in the world of your Clemson Tigers. We got the scroll at the bottom. You can see it. Beaux Collins, if you follow us on Twitter, at Clemson Sports. We got the transfer tracker on the website right now, trying to keep that updated. We've got news on the coaching front at Clemson with a couple of changes with Lemansky Hall and Thomas Austin. Trying to digest it all, but here's the thing today. And since we are streaming it, hit the like, share, subscribe button. Hit the ring the bell or whatever you got to do, become a subscriber. If you are on TikTok, we are there as well. We're trying to get to 1,000 TikTok followers. We'll start doing this thing on TikTok. Oh, yeah. TikTok around the clock. We'll do it. But I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Beaux Collins going into the transfer portal? We'll get to his statement here in a minute. The portal technically doesn't open until December the 4th. So we're a few days out. Now, it opens immediately, and part of the reason that we know some players and even some where they're going, their destinations, because if your coach leaves or is fired, so there's a little trickle-down effect. Texas A&M fires Jimbo Fisher. Mike Elko is hired from Duke. That means Duke's players can jump in. That means Texas A&M's players can jump in. This is the new era, if you will, in college sports, and more specifically at this time of the year in college football. Now, was I caught off guard? Question 1. Caught off guard by players going into the portal? No. That's never something that catches you off guard in this day and age. Players are going to portal. The name, however, being Beaux Collins today, yes. And here's the thing about Beaux Collins. When we've talked about wide receivers on this program, when we've talked about Clemson wideouts, the one correlation, like whether or not you think the problem is Tyler Grisham, whatever, right? And you didn't see Tyler's name today on the out list like you did Thomas Austin and Lemansky Hall. But Beaux Collins as a freshman was the best wide receiver on Clemson's campus. The best wideout that freshman year. Then his sophomore year, I thought he had a chance to be again. Injuries kind of limited him, obviously. And the same story, it was kind of like, remember the movie Ghost? They're singing Henry VIII. Second verse, same as the first, right? Like, here we go again. It kind of felt that way a little bit this year, too. Like, every time he turned around, Beaux Collins was a little bit banged up. And to the end of the year where he's not playing in the South Carolina game because of his plantar fascia, or however you say it, right? Like, I just know it from the plantar fasciitis that people get, but this is the tear of the ligament tendon. Not a doctor, didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express, so I can't really tell you for sure the ins and the outs of how that works. But this is a kid that's got 3 really good years. Outside of really one moment this past season where he sort of loafed to the end zone. You remember that? And Dabo Swinney talked about how he would get on him after the game about it, and rightfully so. We saw a similar situation with Ray McLeod when he was at Clemson, and he had a play. I think it was a punt return, maybe a kick return. I feel like it was a punt return going into the end zone, set the ball down before he got to before he crossed the line. And I think for a lot of people, they watched Beaux Collins in that moment. They felt like it was an out-of-body experience because Beaux Collins, outside of, letting you know it was Beaux time, had never really been a guy that you would have thought might take a not necessarily a playoff. That wouldn't be fair, but, not give 100% or 110% Frank Howard, right? Wasn't given 110% in that little portion of the ball game. But he was 100% Clemson guy. Like, you hear him when he meets with the media, you just go, this is an unbelievable kid. I mean, if your son or daughter grew up to be the person that it appears, and look, when you cover these players, you don't know them. You really don't know them. You don't know everything about them, but you get a vibe about people when you're around them. And the vibe that I always got from Beaux Collins was that this is, he's a man's man. His parents have obviously raised him right. He was a great ambassador for the university and just had a year left, really. Had one year left to play. And so in my mind, if you're saying to me, Swanee, look at the list of wide receivers at Clemson, who do you think is likely to leave? I can tell you Beaux Collins was not going to be somebody at or even near the top of that list. Now, NIL has changed the game for everybody, and I don't love it. And you know this. I've come to accept what it is, but I don't appreciate what it does. And I think that players, in large part, and it's not always the case, but I think players who maybe don't make a certain amount of money in NIL feel compelled, and this may or may not be Beaux Collins' case, and that's perfectly fine if it's not. It's perfectly fine if it is. But may feel like they've got an opportunity to go somewhere else and make more money. And if it's only about the money for a player, in this age, you can't really fault them. It's not their fault that the rules currently don't require any type of loyalty. It's not their fault that the rules at this time don't require any types of contracts. That's not on the players. We don't have to like it, but I can assure you, if you had value and someone would offer you more and you didn't have a contract, you'd go take it. Now, you might say, well, Swanee, if I'm making $65,000 a year and somebody offers me 70, but I got to move to, Chicago, I got to weigh all those options. And you're right. Like, there's the financial options, family obligations, all the things that a lot of you, like me, have to deal with. Right? There have been opportunities for me in radio that would have required me to potentially move my family. Is that something, when I sit down with my wife that she wants to do? Is that something that I want my kids to have to do? Those are things as a family that we have to talk about. You know what the great thing about college? You don't have those worries. You don't tend to have any worries. You're for the first time your parents got you out of the nest. Fly, little birdie. And if you're a football player in this era and you're out of your family's home and you're living and doing your thing, and all of a sudden, this NIL thing kicks up and you got a chance to make a little bit of money, and then somebody else comes along and says, hey, you know what, man? We think you can make a little bit more here. Now, inducements are not supposed to be aren't supposed to be a part of it, but you'd be foolish not to believe that they are. And again, this may or not be Beaux Collins' case. But if his NIL deal at Clemson is $250,000 and he thinks he can go make $400,000 somewhere else, what reason other than just having the paw on the side of his helmet for another year would you not go somewhere else to take maybe $150,000 extra dollars for a year? I can't give you many. It's not like he's got an infinite amount of time to play college football. He didn't make the rules. Tim's hanging out with us today in Rossville, Georgia. Edward says, Swanee, I hope the wheels aren't falling off. Neil says Tyler Grisham has Wesco coming in. The only reason he's still here, in my opinion, talking about the 5-star wide receiver, Brant Wesco out of the state of Texas. Now, that may or may not be the case. That may or may not be the pressure that Beaux Collins felt. I can't tell you. But as long as we don't have contracts, as long as players don't have to stay at a program for a specific amount of time, this is going to be the norm in the sport. And here's what I'll grant you. A lot of you would say, Swanee, well, one way we can fix this is, guys should have to stay at the school for 3 years. So if that's part of your solution, that players need to stay to school for 3 years, well, guess what? Beaux Collins did. He held up that end of the bargain. If you said, well, Swanee, I think maybe the rule should be that you can transfer once you graduate. That puts an incentive on education. And arguing in front of, if you're going to argue anything in front of Congress right now about college football and players and the programs and the rights and kind of trying to calm down this portal, graduation rates or graduating players might be an incentive that could tip things in your favor. Because if you could prove that players are less likely to graduate in this system that currently exists, then you could go back to the fundamental arguments that we talk about here on the program a lot with college football, and that is, and not just college football, college sports in general, is that these programs were never founded to become professional programs. That wasn't the nature of the university. That wasn't the nature of the opportunity that players began to earn with scholarships. Now, can we agree that there was a significant amount of time, probably somewhere from the early 1970s through 1999, 2005, somewhere there, where the emphasis on the education for the student athlete wasn't really championed? There are probably a ton of former college athletes that will tell you that they didn't get anything out of the education process at a university, in part because the university and or the athletic department and or the coaching staff didn't require those players to be student athletes. They were athletes that just happened to be students, but they put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. You following me? And so because of that fact, we've gotten down this road where people say, well, these guys should absolutely make something. I don't disagree. But I don't know that I agree that the starting quarterback should make $1.5 million and the starting offensive lineman should make $25,000. I don't think that should be the model or the discrepancy. I don't think that should be the way it works. Could a tiered system work across the board? Maybe. Could a system where it's equal from the bench to the starting quarterback work? Sure. But in a situation where you can just leave, you can just pack up and go. And again, this is not meant to be an indictment on Beaux Collins. Whatever Beaux wants to do is fine with me. He's been a jam up tiger. I mean, as good as you could get, in my opinion, just in terms of, as I said earlier, being an ambassador for the program. I'm just talking about the situation that we're in. And the other thing, too, that I think would be preferential for a lot of people, I think a lot of people would prefer this. Not necessarily a pay-for-play system, but what if and this wouldn't limit transfers per se, but it would certainly protect the investment, because if you've given a lot of money to a kid, if, one of the collectives has pieced together a ton of money for a player, and they're going to try to, get $300,000 for this guy. They say, all right, we're going to give you $300,000 for this season. And I don't know if that comes in a lump sum. I don't know if that comes in a monthly payment. Whatever happens. But if you do that, and then the player gets hurt, and then the player's not playing, and the player's still getting paid, and he's injured, this is not the pros. You get a guaranteed contract, and even though in the NFL it's not all guaranteed, but that's a contract. You belong to the organization of the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Carolina Panthers. But in this situation, you say, well, we'll give you $300,000 and we'll pay it out in this amount, and guy gets banged up and you just have to pay it out. But then the guy can leave. To me, it would seem like the better scenario would be, okay, look, here's what we'll give you if you reach 500 yards. Here's what we'll give you if you reach 10 touchdowns. Here's what we'll give you if you reach 15. And we'll tier this structure. We'll make it performance-based. Now, a little tricky to do something like that with the offensive line. I get it. But something where there's a tie between either your performance and your pay, or something where there's a tie between the amount of time you have to be at said program before you can leave. 803-450-0086. Howard says, so how many players have jumped in the portal in the last 24 hours all over the country, especially at quarterback? Howard, we've got our I almost called it a quarterback tracker, transfer tracker up on our website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com, and we haven't put every name in. I've just put in sort of prominent names, if you will. And let's just say it's a lot. I don't know how many have gone in the past 24 hours, but just kind of spitballing it here, looking at it, I mean, there's probably 15 or 20 on our list right now. And, of course, Clemson, with Hunter Helms entering the portal the other day, will likely look to bring in somebody. And that's part of the reason I really wanted to track the quarterbacks, to just kind of see how it all lays out. But, yeah, a unique era in the world of college football for sure. All right, we got a break coming up. Don't forget, 4 o'clock, you can listen to the show live on iHeartRadio. Just search for Fox Sports Radio 1400. All right, Fox Sports Radio 1400. We'll hit a quick break. We'll come back with more right here on the show that shakes the Southland. It's Clemson Sports Talk. What's up, everybody? Thank you for hanging out with us. I gotta upload this real quick to iHeart, and we'll get rolling. So I'm gonna put you on the the little loop, real fast countdown loop for probably 2 minutes. Back at it on a Thursday afternoon. Tim Beret, legendary Clemson SID, joins us in hour number 2. 803-450-0086. That is the text line. That is the phone line. That is how you can be a part of this program. Again, anytime, any place, anywhere. Our website as well. Just $63.17. That's right, Gamecocks. I said it. $63.17 for you to be a part of what we do on the website. And again, Beaux Collins confirmed via social media that he would enter the transfer portal. If you're just joining the show, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, ring the bell, whatever you got to do, whatever platform you're on, so that you can catch up with us when we do go live. We don't go live every day. Some people will say, why not, Swanee? You got such a beautiful face. I know it's a gift and a curse, but we do the show every day, 2 hours from 4 until 6 o'clock on Fox Sports Radio 1400 in the Midlands. And you can listen to that around the world on the iHeartRadio app. And if you're a podcast person, we podcast every episode. Millions of downloads of this program. Blows my mind, but I'm grateful for you. And if you do want to support us directly, the easiest way to do that is on the website. It's 17 cents a day for the year. And we've got recruiting coverage. Not everything is premium, okay? We don't do every single article premium. We do some. But if you say, well, I like the free websites. Well, the free websites are bloated with advertising. Go check out our site. And if you say, oh, Swati, this is way bloated with advertising, it's not. You're gonna go, yeah, I'll support you because your time is valuable. And if you have to scroll through a zillion different ads, is it really worth it? I don't think so. All right. Beaux Collins. Here's the message. Dear Tiger family, first and foremost, I would like to thank God for the blessings and lessons he has granted me thus far in my journey. I am truly beyond grateful to have experienced such a great program. To my family, your support is what has allowed me to make such a tough decision. I cannot thank you all enough for always being my number one fans. To my friends and teammates, I'm forever grateful for all the relationships that we've built over the years and all the memories that we share together. To my coaches, amazing athletic training staff, and all of Clemson University, I can't thank you enough for all the love you've given me over my time here at Clemson. After deep thoughts and consideration, I have plans to enter the transfer portal. That comes from Beaux Collins' Twitter account. And again, we've got the story up over on the website right now. Thank you to the 1,500 of you that have already viewed or shared. I appreciate you being a part of that. Now, the other news out of Clemson today, changes on the staff. Lemansky Hall and Thomas Austin both out. Now, if you've been around this program, I know there are a lot of people out there that have been shouting, oh, we got to get rid of Tyler Grisham. We got to get rid of Thomas Austin. You haven't heard many people say anything about Lemansky Hall. I did. Not in a negative light, though, quite frankly. Not in a negative sense. So my thoughts on Lemansky Hall has been, as of late, with Nick Eason and the job that he's done. And in my opinion, Nick Eason's ability to coach both the defensive ends and the defensive tackles in an era where Clemson did not have, and it was a pretty glaring weakness, in my opinion, the special teams coordinator. It felt like that needed to be something that was addressed. I looked at Lemansky Hall, thought about his relationship with Dabo Swinney, felt like, you know what, Lemansky might be somebody that would be interested in getting into a role outside of being a day-to-day coach on the field. Well, and if you read the statement from Dabo Swinney, it doesn't insinuate that, but it sounds a little bit like it. I'll get to the statement in a minute. But that was kind of my thoughts on the Lemansky Hall thing. Got a good relationship with Dabo Swinney. There's no reason. Like, look, if you gave me the option, like if I'm a coach, you say, hey, you know what? Lemansky, here's the thing. Love what you're doing, but I think we could find you an administrative capacity working with Paul Journey. Well, how much does that pay? Well, not as much as you make coaching, but we can make it 6 figures and some change. Okay, so it's a little more laid back, not stressful, don't have to do the recruiting. Yeah, none of that. You're good. Okay, yep, sign me up. Sign me up for that. And it's probably a job you're never going to get fired from, right? You have to make a really dumb mistake to get fired from a job like that. And if you ever desire to get back into coaching, well, you know what? You've got Dabo Swinney's name on your resume as somebody to call, and that probably gets you in the door in a hurry. But I thought Lemansky Hall would be somebody that could potentially be changed out. And my hunch was, we kind of know the rumors and the speculation about Jeff Scott. And there's a lot of people that would like Jeff Scott to come back. There's also the vibe that Jeff Scott's got young children, still getting paid from the South Florida gig, doesn't need the money. So why? Why come back to the hustle and the bustle of being a full-time coach? There's a lot to it. And his name will certainly be one that people are going to talk about today because of the success that Clemson had when he was on staff, and rightfully so. But a lot of those names, or a lot of those people that talk about it, are talking about it because of the wide receiver position. So without Coach Ski, my thought was probably two or 3 months ago, whenever I was talking about this, was that you could bring in Jeff Scott. You could make him head of recruiting. You could put him as the special teams coordinator, because you only get 10 coaches, special teams coordinator, and call it a day. And you say to Jeff, look, man, we really want you back. We know what you bring to this program. We know how good you are in terms of recruiting. And we believe that in this capacity, you can still be the father that you want to be for your children, but you can also be a part of this program. And I don't know if that's the way this will all play out. I have no idea what the plans are for Clemson. But with Lemansky Hall gone, that would throw in the opportunity there, because I don't think you have to bring in, a defensive ends coach. I think you can look for that position to be something a little bit different. We'll talk with Tim Beret about that to a degree as well, coming up in hour number 2. All right, quick break. We'll come back, and we'll talk about Thomas Austin with that news coming out today as well. Stay with us. All right, folks, that's 7:35 there. We're going to do the Thomas Austin segment, then we're going to call it today. Is that good with y'all? And then I'll come back with Tim Beret in hour 2. Let's see. What are y'all's thoughts on them? Put your thoughts in there. Oh, okay, Bays. All right. Why, Bo? All right. Let's see. More file to upload, and we'll do the next. The magic of radio from home. People always like, why don't you go back to iHeart? You see how nice this is? Move the program right along. All right, here we go. Got to get the segment first, Swanee. Rookie. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk each and every afternoon. Fox Sports Radio, 1400 in the Midlands. Live right now for a lot of people on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I honestly don't know where we are. We're on all those platforms, though. Wherever you are, we are. Subscribe there. Hit the little bell. It'll let you know when we go live. That way, if you're traveling the highways and byways, you're riding with your spouse in the car or whatever, you can get updates when we do go live, because today was a big day. Beaux Collins going to enter the transfer portal. Lemansky Hall out. Thomas Austin out. We talked about all of that a little bit earlier. Let's see here. So Garnett Lee, that's so odd. Garnett, I'll explain in a minute. Says, why, Bo? Next season was looking promising, but now I don't know. Garnett, the reason I hope that's how you say your name. That's my sister's name. Just there's an E at the end of it. My grandfather's name was Garnet. Yes, like the Gamecocks color, but he was a Tiger. Been a Tiger through and through all those years. Let's see. Michael Bays. Some of you may know Mike Bays from his time as the Tiger in Clemson. He says maybe Collins and DJ will go to Michigan State and hook up. Get the old St. John's Bosco group back together again. Taking DJ and Beau to where DJ's former coach at Oregon State went, to Michigan State. You know what I said? I said the ultimate heel turn. I don't even know if it's a heel turn. It's more like a baby face if we're going to go wrestling references here on the program. And you know we love a good wrestling reference.
I think that your time is done, and I think that the spotlight should go on top of me. Yeah.
What if DJ said, yeah, you know what, I'm going to come back to Clemson. They got a backup spot. They need a short yardage guy. Like I did a segment on this program. a couple of weeks ago where I said, you know, if Clemson had DJ in that Duke game, what do you think happens when the Tigers are at the 1 yard line? All that kind of predicated off of watching what he had done out at Oregon State, the missing short yardage game for Clemson early in the season. And maybe DJ, how you doing? Welcome back. We need a little short yardage quarterback in Tiger Town. So you talk about the fans just flipping Clemson fans on their heads. Man, that would be wild. But anyway, that's not, I'm not suggesting that happens. I just like the fun in the thought. The fun in the thought. Thomas Austin, also relieved of his services. Dabo Swinney saying, today I made the difficult decision to seek new leadership for the offensive line. It is my responsibility as head coach to make difficult decisions that I believe are in the best interest of our football program and the young men that comprise it. After a few days of deep thought and evaluation, I believe this was the change we needed to make. He went on to talk about how he loves Thomas Austin, his family, you know, his capacity, being a former Tiger, all those things. And, you know, you look at the offensive line and Walker Parks' injury. I mean, these are things you can't put on the offensive line coach. Much like you can't put wide receiver injuries on the wide receivers coach. Injuries, to me, I mean, some people might say, oh, strength and conditioning and stretching and, you know, and all that stuff is the nature of it. I just think it's dumb luck. And I think during, you know, Clemson's run, you know, the run of success, maybe after Deshaun Watson got injured in 2014, you know, 2015, 16, 17, were there injuries? Were guys hurt? Sure. Absolutely. But did Clemson have a good run of success in terms of guys not being hurt? Yeah. Yeah. Clemson had some pretty fortunate circumstances. I mean, there were some things that you couldn't avoid. Mike Williams, his injury, you know, when he broke his neck. I'm trying to just think of some right off the hoof here. But anyway, there's some things you could, I mean, there's nothing you could do. And I just think some of this is honestly just dumb luck. But, you know, in terms of the offensive line play, I mean, it became pretty apparent watching, you know, Mitchell Mays never really developed. I'm still trying to figure out what Ryan Linthicum's going to do or become. You know, and maybe I've been skewed. Brian Tucker, there's another one. I mean, there's just name after name after name on that offensive line that hasn't developed, hasn't gotten better. I mean, Tristan Lee's improved, but at this point, you know, if you were to look back when Robbie Caldwell was Clemson's offensive line coach, and you start to look at some of the guys and how quickly, like Mitch Hyatt, how quickly he came in and played at a very high level. You know, is that coaching? Is that a talent evaluation, recruiting? Like there's there's a whole lot that goes into trying to figure it out. But as Dabo Swinney said, after deep thought and evaluation being the key thing for Dabo Swinney, that's how you come to decisions like this. Let's see. Amanda says, do you think Dabo promotes from inside for the two position coaches? I don't, unless you consider, what I said about Jeff Scott. If they could convince him to come back, if you consider him inside. No, I don't think it'll be inside. Let's see. Steele Gamble says Dabo should let Riley bring in his own assistants. And there's another thought that I had kind of thinking through this all. I don't remember who all, was with Riley at TCU in terms of offensive line, etc. But, that is another legitimate thought that you could have, is go get guys that he, wants to bring in. And for Dabo Swinney, that would take some, again, when you're in this position, you're a CEO of a major company, and you do have to delegate. You can't micromanage. And that would be a big step if Swinney said to Lincoln Riley, go get the guys that you think, would be best suited. I don't think it'll go quite like that, but you just never know. All right, quick break. We'll come back. We'll put a bow on hour number 1. Stay with us. All right, let's see. I will do one more segment here with you guys, because I've got one more thing I do want to talk about, I think. I feel like somebody was asking the question I was going to talk about. Let me see. Upload one file, and then we'll get going. Final segment of hour number 1 here on the program. Don't forget, Tim Beret joins us in hour number 2. So you want to make sure you're here for that. We will stream it live as well, but we'll drop this feed and we'll come back with another one at 5 o'clock. So make sure you're here for that. The show, you can listen to it. It's funny. Some people say, how's the podcast going, Swanee? It's a radio show. We started as a podcast. No offense to podcasters out there. I love the medium. It's how I got here. But it's a radio show every day, okay? But how can it be a radio show if you're streaming online? We do this too. That's the modern business. You don't always stream online. No, I'm busy. I try to, okay? Big days like this, lots to talk about. You know it. But iHeartRadio app, if you have an Amazon Echo or a Google Home device, just say Shlomo. That's the device. I know yours won't work. The first time I told my dad that, I said, Dad, just say Shlomo, play Fox Sports Radio 1400. My dad looked at his Amazon Echo and went, Shlomo? I said, no, not Shlomo. What you actually say. But I can't say what you actually say, because then your device will, it'll do whatever it does. Mine, if you say I think it's let's start this Christmas party or something, my Christmas tree comes on and it plays Christmas music over the Amazon Echo. So anyway, and also when I say Santa's gone, tree off and music stops. Little tech geek, but that's okay. Back to the lecture at hand. What we were talking about a few minutes ago, the staff changes, Lemansky Hall, Thomas Austin, transfer portal. And we talked about inducements and all of that stuff. And how I don't like where the world of college football is in that respect, where I think players find out via back channels what they might be worth, and that's why some guys go into the portal to go make more money elsewhere. And they're rightfully so. They can do that. But you're not supposed to be enticed by somebody to come to a school for more money. That's not how it's supposed to work. But I did start to think about this. Like if you're Dabo Swinney and you're looking at offensive linemen in the portal, and I don't have many offensive line names in the portal right now on my list, but if you just pick one, okay, Spencer Brown from Michigan State. And you said, you know what, it'd be nice to get Spencer Brown in here. I'm just picking a name out of offensive lineman. I have no clue about, Spencer Brown and his value or what he's done. Just picking an offensive lineman. Well, who's Spencer Brown's position coach? Oh, whoever. So then maybe when you're putting out your feelers to Spencer Brown, he goes, oh yeah, I love, Coach Tomlin or whatever the guy's name is. I could throw it in the Google machine and look, but it doesn't matter. Whatever's coach, if he's like, oh yeah, I love my position coach at Michigan State. It was just about, a little culture change or going to a school that was going to win a little bit more. Then maybe that's my phone call. Coach. Yeah. Because then if his position coach comes, maybe the kid comes. And if you have a program that's got two kids that you think are really good in there, maybe you look even harder at bringing in that guy if it's just for the quick fix. Because if he's got players you think will fit, and if he's got players that you believe will work, and you could bring the coach in, get the players, and then if he's done a good job thus far, if you think those guys are talented enough, you should certainly believe that he can go and get the same at Clemson. Just kind of a little reverse look at it, right? I don't know that would be the case. I like to think of myself to some degree as an efficiency expert. And if I'm trying to kill two birds or three birds with one stone, maybe something like that is what you could do. Let's see. Taking a look. Some people were saying, I lost it. There've been so many comments here. I apologize. Somebody was saying, here we go. Nathan says, I wonder if Grisham will get let go after it got you again. I think Wesco and Moore signed their letter of intent. So saying after the early signing period, which is a whole nother ball of wax. So we'll talk with Tim Beret about this too. How quickly do you have to replace these guys, Lemansky Hall and Thomas Austin, with the early signing period coming? Because the early signing period is really just now, it's the signing period. The other signing period in February is not really much of a signing period at all. Like if you're left to sign on that day, you're like one of a handful. Most people go ahead and sign, but this question, I'll throw it back up. What Nathan is alluding to is it possible that Swinney feels like if Clemson were to get rid of Gresham today, that Wesco and Moore wouldn't commit to Clemson? So keep him on. But to me, I don't think that's the way Dabo Swinney is really thinking about this right now. I just, if that happened, I'd be shocked, because I would think you would want to just do all of this at once. And why not? Because you've only got a couple of weeks or whatever it is. I don't have the exact day, the countdown in front of me. But why wouldn't you just have done the same thing? Keep these guys on through the signing period. And you might say, well, they don't believe that Thomas Austin is going to be able to, sign somebody, a high quality guy that we need. But if unless you got the person lined up and you know that they can bring somebody immediately, to me, it's 6 1, half dozen the other. Just let them all ride out and do the firings all at one time. And again, I can't imagine having to make that decision if you're Dabo Swinney, but you know what? That's the nature. That's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of college football. That's the nature of big money college football. And it's not getting any easier with the way the portal and all that will go. Let's see. Big Mick says Bo's graduated, so playing closer to home would be ideal for him. Yeah, I don't think he's graduated yet, Mick. I think he might graduate in December, but, he's probably a few weeks away from it. I don't think Bo's a graduate yet. Not 100% certain on that. But I was actually talking with Tyrese Ingram about that earlier. Anyway, look, we got to get out of here. Hour number 2, right here, wherever platform you're watching. Hit the bell, ring the bell, whatever. Tim Beret will join us. We'll talk with him about all of this. We'll talk a little Clemson hoops with him as well. Again, it is the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk on Fox Sports Radio, 1400, and heard around the world on the iHeart Radio application. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Again, I'll come back right at 5 o'clock with Tim Beret. We are the rest of the, what you just heard is going to be on iHeartRadio right now. It's probably playing some of it, but do appreciate everybody hanging out with us. And whatever you got to do to subscribe, please hit that. That will help us really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, just look us up, look for our logo. That big, good-looking logo right there. That's a good-looking logo. Like, can we just be honest? Go look at any other site's logos. I don't care where you go. Go look at all the other Clemson sites' logos. And you said, if they banned the paw, if they said, we cannot have the Clemson paw anymore, and I know this was backwards, not my fault. That's the way that came in 1981 after the national championship. That was my granddad's. But if they said, ban the paw, you can't use this anymore. And you had to use somebody else's logo. You tell me that's not the logo. That's the logo. That's how we roll. Appreciate y'all. Take care. Go Tigers.